Hello.
Hello, Maina. Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. You're back again?
I'm back again, but I'm not alone. I saw a gentleman who was just walking. How are you, sir? It's good to see you, man. Yeah. We are so.
You were actually here the last time, I think. You've been coming. That's good. That's good.
He's my supporter.
He is.
Yeah.
Okay.
He for she.
He for she. So, karibu sana, everyone. This is Empower Her, and to our online viewers, hello. Welcome to the 7th session that we're having, and today is being financially trendy, women-led businesses. So
Absolutely.
We're hoping to have very insightful conversations today.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Being trendy. And even for the men who are joining us online, don't exit. You're still welcome. And we're going to have a great time here. The hashtag is Empower Her.
Yes, the hashtag is Empower Her.
Absolutely.
But before we start, Maina, there's a tradition that we normally do.
Yeah.
Everyone's supposed to pull out their phone, take a picture, then hashtag.
And use the hashtag, right?
Exactly.
Excellent. Yeah.
So we need our phones out.
Yeah.
All phones matters.
Mm-hmm.
Samsungs, iPhones, all of them all matter.
Yeah.
So
apart from, no, I can't mention the brand. No. Let's not go there. Yeah. So if you don't have one, if you have no neighbor, if you still have some mandazi, you can take it later. Just check it. That's a good one. Yes, I'm waiting for hours. Where are we? Let me do that thing. Yeah.
okay.
You took?
Yes.
Excellent.
Great. Keep on taking your selfies, and please remember to hashtag Empower Her.
Yep.
Our NSC page is NSC
Underscore PLC. Yes.
On Twitter, our Instagram as well as NSC.
Yep.
So remember to hashtag Empower Her. Great.
You're right. And remember, always the first person to tweet always gets something. And because Apps is in the house, you never know. $1 million shillings worth of something. You never know. Yeah, be careful. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So before we dive into our session, I'm very curious, Maina.
Yes.
You've been here for all 7 Empower Hers.
All of them.
All of them?
Even in spirit.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So I want to know, I'm actually curious to know, what have been your biggest lessons from the Empower Her sessions that we've had? You can at least name 3.
No, it's okay. No, 3 is too many. Yeah. This is more like revenge because I'm normally the one who asks her that, so she's trying to pull it on me. But yes, I mean, one of the key things I remember, one of the stories at least stuck by me was when we had a monthly talk with Mary and I think that was a good one. I remember us talking about really starting from wherever you are, believing in yourself, going up. And this lessons transcend gender, honestly, because even some of us, we need to be encouraged in those levels. And then we had Rena Hicks at some point come and talk to us about, what do you do with the money that you have? Not just saving it, but are you really investing it? And it's a challenge it's never about wait until that time, then you can start investing. It's now. In fact, if not now, it's yesterday. So start immediately, whenever you can, with that simple, what you may think this is just better off taking off a luncheon, that's what you can start using. And you can make a lot of money. Those are 2. The third one, you're going to share.
Okay. I think my biggest takeaway, personally, one thing I've learned is that every single woman who starts on stage has always said that it's very important to research about every single thing that you do. Mm-hmm. Knowledge is power. So when it comes to investing to the market, when it comes to investing in anything, or even the decisions that you make, it's really good to research about it. So for me, that's my biggest takeaway. Research about everything.
Research about everything.
Research about everything.
Yeah. What are you going to do to our online guys? Whoever you are, wherever you are, you're in your hundreds, please share on that comment section. Just tell us where you are, where you're watching us from. If it's Nakuru, Timbuktu, it's okay. Just share. We want to know that at least we are quite a number in terms of especially guys who are getting empowered here. And so what are our expectations today, Tammy?
Today, we are going to have a very, very powerful woman one of the women to watch in banking.
Okay. Talk
about being financially trendy.
Yeah.
And especially about SMEs and women-led businesses and women who are entrepreneurs, what insight we can gain from her. So
just before you introduce her, I know you're about to do that.
Just about to.
I wanted to teach you something, the African way of introducing people without saying anything, but just doing something. I don't know. I want to teach you a term. I don't know if some people here are going to help me with trying to help them get to know it. We call it in my mother tongue, Geni. You guys know it? Anyone who knows what I'm talking about? What do you call it in English? My mother tongue might miss me. Yeah, you? You are? do you know that thing?
No.
So in our generation, because you're Gen Z, in our generation, these guys don't know how to do it. I think maybe they might help. But who knows? Who can do it? Now you're talking.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. You see? Yeah. So that.
Man, I can't do that. You want me to do that now?
Try, yes, because I'm about to do it and then you do it, right? So let's try this, right?
Okay.
In their house today. Well done. That's it. That's the move. Now go ahead.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those who are online, please put your hands together for Elizabeth Wasuna, Business Banking Director of Absa Bank Kenya.
Welcome. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Great. I think that was a good entrance on stage. Huh? Pleasure to meet you. Welcome to Empower Her. I think for those who don't know you in the room, I'll allow you to introduce yourself and to our online viewers. Okay.
Thank you, Demi, and it's a great pleasure to be here today. Good afternoon, everyone. I know some of you eating, yeah, but it's okay. My name is Elizabeth Wasuna Ochwa. Ochwa being my husband's name. I know it doesn't feature up here, but that's okay. Business Banking Director at Absa Bank. And I'm really glad to be here to just share, have conversations, be inspired, inspire others as well, and see what we can learn together.
Thank you very much. So I don't know how many people here read the Business Daily, because I saw a feature and she happened to be in yesterday's paper. And I saw that, okay, this is what actually, I was very surprised about. You've been in, now it's called Absa from Barclays, since you were an intern to the position that you've got into right now. Could you please tell us your journey, how that was for you, especially being a woman in such a male-dominated industry?
Thanks, Demi. And the truth is, I started at Barclays as an intern. Along the way, I've done my hops and skips and jumps, and then I came back home. So, yes. So I started off really not quite sure of what I wanted to do. But I think the influence of the people who are around you, the strong people who are around you, I had two very strong people around me who are in the banking industry. And I remember how, when you're in school and there's career day, people come to the bank, to your school or to the university you're in, and bankers always were sharply dressed. Do you remember that? They would come in, the CFOs, the MDs would come in, latest cars. So, from that perspective, that's what young people think, okay, so how can I get there?
Yeah.
But I think what happened was I was lucky to then get an internship opportunity at Barclays, and that started my journey, because as I got in there, I forgot about the suits and the cars and everything, but just got involved with the curiosity around what is banking. And there's so much to banking. There's foreign exchange at that point, customer service, credit, and so many other things. So I found myself in an area where I was very intrigued by what was bringing together this bank. And it's been a journey of learning, a lot of learning. The truth is, from where I started and to where I am today, very different. So I started off Barclays. I had an opportunity to work at CBA then, before it converted into NCBA. I've worked at Stanbic Bank, and then finally back to Barclays and Absa Bank. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So how was it for you as an intern? How was it in Barclays?
It was interesting. I mean, how you're the youngest and you're chick, and people are trying to tell you how many, can you go for lunch? There's all sorts of drama. Yeah. But the truth is, you have to be focused on what you do. Yeah, and there's a lot of focus. But I think what also struck a lot of those people is that whereas a lot of people would leave at 5 o'clock, I'll be like, okay, so who needs help that I can be able to support? So Can I be able to sit with the person at Forex? Can I sit with the person, whatever it was? Then I would learn from that experience, so that the next time I'm asked, somebody's on leave, you sit and do it, and I'd be happy to do it. So I learned a lot from that experience. In turn was just being able to do anything and everything. It's not about I'm in at 8 and out at 5, and I'm going for my lunch as well. So you learn, you just learn, you just become a sponge. Everything, that you are being exposed to becomes a basis for something you're going to do in the future. And the honest truth is, I appreciate the fact that I started there, because now I appreciate when somebody comes into the bank, how do I treat them? How do I make sure that they don't get stepped on, crushed, ignored? How do you just make sure that you give them the attention that they deserve? Yeah.
That's interesting. So you are an indispensable intern, basically.
I tried hard enough to make sure that they knew that if somebody was leaving, I was next. I was in.
Yeah.
I was in, yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I saw that you described yourself as being self-aware, courageous, and focused. Could you say that it's something that you learned along the way, or have you always been like that, even during your internship at Barclays?
Some of those things you add, you get to learn as you go along. Okay. The question around being self-aware is something you get to learn along the way. So remember, there's those things that your parents teach you, and you think this is who I am, and you go to school and people tell you this is who you are, and then you get to interact with your friends, and they always tell you, oh, you look like this, or you do this. That's all people telling you. But the fact is, you need to know who you are by, making sure that you know what makes you happy, what makes you unhappy, how you show up, why you show up the way you do, what ticks you off, why does it tick you off, things like that. And so along the way, and especially into leadership, where you're now beginning to lead teams, it's important to know who you are and how you show up. Because if you don't, I see a lot of managers who are really good managers, but they really injure people along the way, simply because you don't realize that in the strength or in the profile of yourself, you're actually hurting a lot of people along the way. I'll give you an example. So, when you do this profile, there's a profile we did, and it gives you a view of whether you're red, green, blue, yellow. Red is very leadership driven. You're given a task, you get it done no matter what. Then there's the blue people who dot your I's and cross your T's. So they tend to be accountants and lawyers because there are rules and regulations of how things are done. Then there's a section of green, which is the earthy people who are very, they want to know how you're doing, habari ya, kazi, habari ya watoto, but there's a green version of you, And then there's a yellow. Yellow is people who are very, they're the life of the party. And those people, when they walk into the room, everybody's like, whoa, that guy has walked in.
Yeah.
So when you do this, and you show up in these different colors, I'll just give you a view of what a red person looks like. A red person comes in asking you, guy, I told you to be here at 5 o'clock. You're here at 5 past. Have you done my work? Forgetting to even ask you, okay, so what happened? Did something happen to you along the way? Are you okay? Is everything okay? Did they even see you? They saw what they wanted to see in terms of the work. So the more you are, in line with any one of those colors, the more you need to be aware so that you can pull back. Sometimes you have to pull back and make sure that you are aware of the people in the room, how you're interacting with them. There's a good place for what you are, but there's also a good place to knowing how to show up. Yeah.
Wow, when I was thinking about that, I was wondering why I fall, the green or the yellow. I don't know, one of them. But okay, thank you for sharing that. Okay, and you spoke of leadership. Yeah. So I know Absashi was spearheaded by you, which is an amazing program. I think that you should explain to those who don't know about it.
Yeah.
And what really led you to starting this initiative?
Yeah. So I would say it wasn't necessarily, so it was an idea that was there for a long time. And the question was, as I joined the bank, how do we then make sure it comes to life? And I was lucky to have blessed to have a great group of women in the bank. So at that point, we had head of credit was a woman and still is a woman. Head of markets was a woman. We have a great group of, SME head was a woman at that point. So we had a group of women who saw the idea that we had, and then said, you know what, enough of procrastinating. Let's get this on the road. Let's get this show on the road. And let's get it on the road, not because we want to deliver to women what we think. Let's ask the women first what they want. What do they want from the organization? What do they want from a bank? And it was a very good and interesting conversation because we went around and said, first of all, who are we going to talk? Where are these women to talk to? Women, sometimes it's very difficult to talk to women because I'm busy. I've got my children. I've got, all these things. So we said, how do we get them into the room? So we got a group of women from Nairobi. We decided, let's go out in the mashinani also and get a view of women because we come in all shapes and sizes and colors. And if you want to have a proposition that transcends just, the opportune moment, you have to be able to embrace all that. So we had a conversation with women and they came back and told us, guys, we have 4 things. In all these things, because we gave them a chance and there was feedback. There's a lot of feedback. So we came up with 4 things that they were talking about fundamentally. They said, listen, access to markets, access to mentoring and coaching, access to networks, and access to sustainable finance. Those are the 4 things. And that became our journey. How can we make a proposition that provides women with sustainable finance? So the first thing was, how do we give them facilities that are unsecured? You don't have to have collateral. The truth is, less than 20% of women in this country have title deeds in their names.
Oh, wow.
Amazing. Most of the titles are in your father's name, your brother's name, your grandfather's name. You know, there'll be something, but it is not in women's name. So less than 20% at that time. So we then said, then security can't be on the table. What else can we look at? Then we said, let's look at how the financials look like. You can't get women to get audited finance because it's also expensive to get, qualified accountants to come in and do,
Yeah.
So how do we then let them show up? So these are some of the things that were in our minds. Then we said, a lot of these women have said, give us an opportunity to learn. It's not like we are not able to learn. Women are smart, eh? I mean, women juggle things that even today I ask a man to be able to do. It's impossible. Women juggle things. So it's not an intellect issue. It's not an intellect issue. The question is, can we provide them with the information that will support them in being able to run their business? So these are some of the things that we had to then plow in. And as we were launching the product in 2020, COVID, and whereas a lot of organizations will say, oh my God, this is a mess, now we can't do this. The truth is, it gave us an opportunity for women to actually take a step back, because now they were at home, now they had their phones, now they had their gadgets, we could talk.
Yeah.
We could actually talk. So we run a number of programs. We run programs around empowerment of women. How do you make sure your cash flows are done properly? How do you take your business online? How do you deal leadership in crisis? How do you make sure that your cup is full? Because if you're not mentally able to manage, because remember at COVID, we became the caregivers. So how do you manage your business? At the same time, you run back and you defend the goal. So you're striking on one side, making money, and then you're going back to defend the goal because your family is important. How do you make sure you juggle those and how to embrace women? So our ABSA She proposition really speaks to empowering women from a financial and a non-financial basis so that your business can really stand the test of times. The last couple of years, you can see we've had a lot of disruptions. COVID, then there's a war somewhere else that comes and disrupts.
There's been a lot.
There's been a lot. So that is how the proposition sets up. And to be honest, today we're still learning. There's a lot of feedback, and we have a lot of partners to help us do what we do. And we're grateful, and I'm sure we'll share some of those as we go along.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
We'll as we go along, we'll share more. Okay, this is the last question I have for you for our fireside chat, and then we'll have our other guest, Ms. Mbitha, the Chief Business Officer from Nairobi Securities Exchange, join us for a panel discussion. So the last question is, from your perspective, actually, even before I say that, again, I'm going to quote from the Business Daily. I saw that you said that you're a strong believer that if we had more women leaders in the world, we wouldn't have as many wars as we have today. So, with that in mind, from your perspective, what does it take for a woman what does it take for a woman to succeed as an entrepreneur, and what unique opportunities and challenges do women face compared to men?
Yeah, I was really hoping I wasn't recorded on that one, but you know what? It is what it is. Yeah. The reason why I think it's important that women get a chance to sit at tables and boardrooms, and we have an opportunity to really make a difference, is because we come with a different set of skills. When you go into the boardroom and there's a war, you can see how there's testosterone in the room. Everybody's like, let's get and fight and let's get this done, and how long do we need to take? And there's all that argument around getting things done the man way. But when a woman is in the room, then they'll give you a different perspective. Have you thought about, for instance, in the war situation, have you thought about whose child that is you're going to kill? Is there a different way of being able to resolve that issue that perhaps would allow us to get the same results, but walk a different path with not so much destruction? So I'm just giving it an example that is easy to understand. And the same thing goes into the boardroom. When you say, let's fire 20%, and this is how we're going to fire, draw a line from here, and then you say, no, but are you thinking about the number of lives you're going to disrupt? Is there a different way we can do this? Can we provide them with training, even if we have to let them go, to understand what their lives are going to be beyond this? So there's a lot of that's nurturing thing that women have that helps in that space as well. And the truth is, you need those to be able to balance a boardroom, balance a business, balance situations so that you can be able to move forward. So yes, women need to be strong, need to be focused. The truth is, when you go to those boardrooms, you don't go thinking, well, yeah, now let me tell you how we're going to cry in here. No. The idea is find your place at the table, be very intentional about what you're going to say. Your first words maybe is normally your first impressions to the people who are listening. Can you have the content? Can you have the content? Ladies, it's nice to be in those boardrooms, but you need to have the content. Be prepared in so many ways. I know you were saying earlier on around, a lot of people who've come before me in this conversation have said, there's learning. There's a hell of a lot of learning in those situations, and you have to be prepared all the way. I think today, one of the things I would say without contradiction is that you have to be open to learning each and every day. Each and every day. So there's a learning and learning, relearning. Learn and learn, relearn situation, because you can't have it all. Learn and learn, relearn. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Wow. Guys, a round of applause, please. As we now welcome Ms. Mbithe Maina. Could I please get a chair on stage? Thank you. Okay, great. Okay. Now we have Ms. Mbithe Mama, our Chief Business Officer, joining us for the panel discussion. A round of applause, please, as we welcome her on stage. Oh, hey, Maina, please grab the mic. How can we forget?
In 3, 2, go.
You're welcome. Okay. We'll just share the mic. Okay, I'll allow you to introduce yourself again for the online viewers and those who don't know you in the room.
Oh, there is. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and the gentlemen that are dotting the room. Who invited you? See how wonderful women are. We're quite caring. But thank you. Before I invite myself, I think I just was following on the conversation earlier, and what stood out for me was it's important to remind yourself that you have every right to be in the room and to demand to be appreciated. So that's why I demanded for the ululations, because I'm here. I want to be appreciated. So I think it was a good reminder. And I think I also resonated with the conversation with regards to sometimes as women, you do have your highs and you have your lows, but you have to figure out how to play the game. So I had a nice one-on-one with Elizabeth upstairs, and I feel like she fired me up. I was feeling like a random woman. But I sat with her and I felt fire, and I'm defining myself as a consuming fire. So that's why I was like, I'm going to take the emulations. And I think it's for all of us as ladies, whether you're up or down. If you sit in that room, remind yourself you sit on that chair and you demand to be treated equally like everybody else, because you have absolutely every right to be there. So by virtue of who I am, my name is Mbithe Maina. I am a lady who works at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. I'm passionate about women, and I'm passionate about women succeeding. But more importantly, because I'm in the capital markets, I'm passionate about seeing women becoming wealthy. And the reasons that actually we're doing Empower Her, which Demi does a fantastic job, is we don't want to just have emotional conversations. We want to have actions where women then begin to open accounts. Women begin to buy these shares that are at the back here, because without this, it becomes harder to have a conversation of getting women around the table. Money talks, other things work, isn't it? So let's stick to that conversation. That's what I'm very excited about. When I'm at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, I'm responsible for working with corporates and working with SMEs. When I'm not here, I love to dance, I love to smile, I love to have a good time. It's never that serious, and I love life. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
That was a beautiful introduction. I love that. Okay, cool. So let's dive into the panel discussion. The question goes to the both of you. Based on the topic today, what does it mean to you to be financially trendy as a female business owner? So we can start with Elizabeth.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a really interesting question. And as I was listening to it and reading through it, I was wondering what would I tell women who are already trendy? You should see the way they've checked in today here. So you've seen the hairstyles.
They're looking fire.
Yeah. But I think for me, what is important in a woman in a business world, and to be trendy, it really speaks about how do you show up, huh? How do you show up in a way that allows you to interact with the environment that you're in an impactful way? Because let me tell you, trends keep changing. How do you make sure that you're aware of the trends that are changing? And it just goes back to the conversation we were having earlier on about learning. You've got to be out there learning. I know a lot of times women start businesses, and when you start business, you do the research at that point. And then after that research is done, that's it. Twende kazi. Now you just go back to the same things. Today, the truth is, there's so many trendy things in the environment that you must embrace. If you're not digital savvy, and you know some of us just can't stand that area. You look at your phone, and in fact, all you do is you ring, you call somebody and receive. Nothing more than that. Oh, and maybe WhatsApp. Yeah. But the truth is, being trendy means that you have to be alive to the times. So I look at some of the things like AI, artificial intelligence, data. What are those? How do you keep up with the trends about how to get financial support? It's not just from a banking perspective. There's so many ways to find support, to run your business. So for me, a trendy person is somebody who keeps up with the times, knows how to apply them, knows how to get information around them, is not fearful of these trends and the different trends, even if you don't embrace them, because God knows there's some trends that will pass you. Remember, like the trends of wearing platforms and trousers up to here. I mean, some things can pass you, but know what they are and know when to use them, so that net, you are in a better place. Nothing should pass you. And an opportunity, for instance, to get financing should not pass you. Should not pass you. An opportunity to learn should not pass you, because the truth is you have an opportunity to move forward. So I think for me, that's what speaks to being trendy.
Oh, well said. So always be aware of your surroundings and keep up with what's new. Okay, and Vida, what do you think about being financially trendy as a woman?
Your question was as a business owner, so maybe I'll answer it in two ways. I have run a business before I joined the NSC. I was running financial literacy business, and I was very passionate about it, but I was not financially trendy, because my appreciation of being financially trendy, do you have a top line? Do you have a bottom line? You could be all out there on Instagram, and I think as women, we do love to have a lot of chit chat. So you have the latest fashion, you have the latest dresses, you have many people who are following you, but that conversion, it wasn't there. Without that conversion, who's going to pay your bills? So I think as a business owner, one of the things I do differently is, first and foremost, what is my bottom line? Am I closing deals? Am I just having conversations that make me feel good? And we love having that conversation. Oh my gosh, that was so insightful. Okay, we care, but did you generate some commercial value? So these are some of the conversations I've also asking myself, even as a career woman today. Are you actually bringing commercial value to the table? So I think being financially trendy as a business owner is, am I making money? Am I making sales from the engagements that I'm having? If I'm not, then what are the right circumstances? Secondly, is what I'm selling even worthwhile? Do the people I'm engaging with want what I have? If they don't, it doesn't make sense. But then the most important thing is, once I make money, am I able to generate a profit? So I'm actually running a business, because most people in the business world tend to be self-employed, but they're not running businesses. So when you come to the bank and you speak to Madam Elizabeth, she will give you money, because you have money that comes into your M-Pesa that goes to make your hair, goes to make your nails, goes to pay the cleaners. You're not being financially trendy. And then thirdly, when it comes to the corporate world, I like what Elizabeth has said. How do you access finance? Do you see all these companies that are listed here? They're all companies that are owned by people. What does that mean? That we're all running companies that ideally should be on this wall. And I would really like to see women businesses that raise capital from the public markets and then expand into other areas. Some of the topical things that are happening now are conversations on export, conversations on the Africa Free Continental Trade Area. And we more often than not get stuck on, there's this new opportunity and we are going for this course, and there's breakfast by APSA, there's breakfast by MSC, and we are going round. And by the end of the year, you have 1,000 miles, but no one cares. They don't even get you across the border because they cannot be commercial flights. The question has to be, if there are these opportunities, what financing is available for me? if I cannot tap into that financing today, can I prepare myself for tomorrow so that I can access that financing? So I think being financially trendy means that I'm actually generating commercial value for my engagements. Secondly, I'm profitable in those engagements. But thirdly, I'm actually looking beyond today to see how can I access financing, in our case, from the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Wow, great. That was very insightful. I also want to ask our online viewers, if anyone is viewing and has a business and you're female, please let us know what you think being financially trendy is. Okay, the next question is, so how are ABSA and the NSC supporting the financing of women-led businesses? Can you both kindly share any success stories from these efforts?
Interesting. I think we find ourselves in a situation where we have common goals. When we talk about making sure that NSC can be able to have more SMEs, women-owned businesses, opportunities for businesses to actually gain financing through this platform, we have an opportunity to do more. Yes, we do sit and chat. We see, ABSA is on the lists here. We normally talk about the pricing and so many other companies on there. And we encourage our customers to come and buy. But the truth is, can we do more in terms of being intentional? Absolutely. Some of this, the reason why we actually accepted this is one of those intentional opportunities for us to speak to women and to speak to businesses to really be able to see that this is not just a hit and run. This is an opportunity for us to be able to engage. I know we were speaking upstairs with Bidhi and saying, for instance, how many of these companies that are listed on the stock exchange have a view of the women in their organization? How many of them are intentionally working the way, opening the doors for women to be part and parcel of their boards, their management at different levels? How are they empowering those? Because a lot of organizations such as ABSA, when we started off, we realized that at the bottom, at the entry level rather, we had a lot of women coming in, because when we leave college, we have a lot of women who are able. But as we went up the ranks, we realized that they're becoming fewer and fewer and fewer. So what are you doing intentionally to make sure that women move from the entry level into top management level? And there are lots of things that we can share, I think, to ensure that we are keeping organizations honest. We sign up to these SDG goals. And we say we are on for number 5, which talks about gender equality, and then number 10, I think, also speaks about reducing inequality. So why is it that we're not intentional about making sure that these things are happening and actually tracking? What doesn't get tracked doesn't get done. Yeah. So it's important that I think we've started the conversations, but I think intentionally showing up and saying this is our partnership between ABSA and Nairobi Securities Exchange, we can be able to walk the journey to ensure that we empower more and more people. There's an opportunity.
Great, thank you.
I'll come to it. But think about even these stories that we see online, where a lady starts to date a guy. His soap is that one, single, which is 50 shillings. How much is your soap? 400. Yeah. Isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I'm being very serious. I think sometimes we undersell ourselves as women, but if you think about consumption today, who buys cooking oil?
Women.
I need to hear. Who buys them? Who do you buy? Okay. Who pays for the bills in the house? Who buys the food, the meat?
It's mostly women.
Mostly women. Yeah. And when I've sat in sessions when I'm doing financial literacy between a man and a woman, and they will say, oh my gosh, I thought I was buying the small things, but I spend more buying meat and stuff. But I'm not saying that as a narrative. I'm saying that because it's very important to appreciate that the success of most of the companies, not just in Kenya, but globally, is actually hinged on us. But on the flip side, we don't then have, we've not collectively come together to put a demand and say, if we're the ones who are making a contribution from an economic standpoint, then we would like to make a contribution when it comes to accountability and leadership. And that's what now the SDGs stand for us. And we're grateful for some of the milestones that have been made, especially by ABSA. I think ABSA has been a great champion, and it's something that we should applaud, that they have done in terms of how do we get people to the board levels? How do we get people to the executive levels? At NSC, we also subscribe to that, but it cannot just be that the other counterparts are the ones who are advocating for SDGs. It has to be us putting our hands up and saying, we are here, we would like to be in the boardrooms, who would like to be in the executive positions, right? Keep putting my hand up and sometimes it's beaten down and you disappear. Then you meet Elizabeth and you bring it back up and you're like, let's see how far it goes. But nonetheless, that's a very important conversation. But then now coming to now the businesses, we were having a discussion and saying, what can we do as MSC and APSA? APSA has a fantastic program when it comes to lending women-owned businesses money, and that is great. But we're seeing that one of the needs that we've identified is investor readiness. And it's not just investor readiness in terms of telling you how your pitches need to look like, but in terms of appreciating that as a women-owned business, if you're not proactive about having your investor readiness mindset on, then you will miss that opportunity for either bank financing or equity financing in our markets. So that's one of the areas that we will be extremely intentional about partnering in and saying, as an extension of your women-led programs, can we come in and facilitate biannual, if not quarterly clinics on investor readiness? And we're open to do that for as many women as we can do. Another thing that Elizabeth shared is just sitting here. I know there are a few of us, but it's a privilege. Most people have never sat in a space where you see the market and you're like, how do people trade? What is that? At least I get excited. This is the most exciting part of my day. The lights are on. When they're not on, it could be, but this is very exciting. So it's how do we get women from where I come from, Machakos and Mwala, to sit here? It might not convert to a business that is listed, but in 3 generations down, I can assure you a business from that county will come. How do we get companies in Mobile financed? That's sustainable financing. Recently, I sat with somebody who said the water in that area is so salty that they cannot drink it. Women as young as 12 years of age are getting married to somebody who's 70. They're widowed in 5 years. And then there's a 90-year-old who's waiting next in line. You cannot speak. It happens in Kenya today. I just spoke to some missionary who came from there. But then I asked myself, as part of the NSC, what are we doing in sustainable financing? And which woman is coming up with a solution to provide proper drinking water? Because if she does that, she creates jobs, and that 12-year-old does not need to get married and widowed before she's even an adult who can get an ID. So in short, we want to do the investor readiness. Secondly, we are doing Empower Her. And Empower Her has 2 elements. There's the social, there's the economic perspective of it. But thirdly, we do need the women businesses coming to list. Because when they come and they list and they raise capital in a proper way, their impact goes beyond just being a shareholder, but it goes into an extent of allowing you to expand, allowing you to create jobs, but allowing you to impact and touch into that innate nature of a woman, which is nurturing and growing things, but actually having that financial trendy mindset added to it. So I think this is some of the initiatives that we're focusing on, and I hope we can be back here with Elizabeth soon to launch that.
Absolutely.
That sounds so exciting. I think it would be an awesome partnership. Okay, so the next question is, so what specific policies or initiatives are being implemented by banks and the NSC to support the growth and expansion of women-led businesses? I know you had mentioned Absoshi, but is there anything else?
So I think that is the anchor. That's how we anchor our business, our support for women. But it doesn't stop us from doing a lot of initiatives. And I know Joyce, who's sitting here in the room, heads our Women in Business proposition. She supports us in being able to show up in different ways. Why do I say this? Because when you're reaching out to women, women are not going to tell you, okay, I want money. It's not always about money. It's about empowerment. So how do you take women out into the market? This past year we've had we had a lot of women from different countries, I think over 10 countries coming into Kenya. And we hosted what we called the Inspire Me Conference, APSA Inspire Me Conference. Every day we had over 600 women in the room physically.
That's amazing.
And that was 2 days, and it was intense. And I think we were under so much pressure to open the doors for more. So I think there are a few more sneaked in. But then online, we had 12,000 women on the platform listening to the stories. So why do I say this, ladies and gentlemen? It's because it's an opportunity for women to engage in different ways. So women came out inspired, women also inspired. We shared our stories. God knows it is something that I've learned over this last year, is sharing of stories is so powerful. Sometimes it's even more powerful than taking a woman to class. Being able to sit with a woman and listen to her story end to end, and letting her tell her story also to an audience. People learn. You learn what mistakes you can avoid, and also learn what it takes to be able to move forward. This past week I've been sharing my story, and then I remember one of my friends telling me, yours is a 28-year-old story as far as my engagement with an organization. So I tell my story because people also need to know that sometimes you can hit and run, but there's sometimes you have to invest over a period of time to be where we are. And there's nothing wrong with either. Just make sure you're intentional and you're prepared for the two. So APSA takes place, it also, partners with different organizations. We've partnered with Africa Guarantee Fund because they provided us with a guarantee to support the women and also SMEs. We partnered with government because a couple of weeks ago we went with Honorable Harry Chigai, who sits as a special advisor in the Office of the President, and we went to Kakamega and we invited 200 women in the room, and we said we were going to inspire them and to support them in being able to manage their businesses from scratch. So how do you start your business? How do you manage your cash flows? How do you manage your risks? How do you just make sure your books are ready for engagements with the bank? We invited 200 women in there, 250 women, 650 women showed up. So it just spoke to the fact that there's a lot of opportunity to engage. So we are going to continue to partnering with government. We've partnered also with ITC She Trades, which is we hold the hub here in Kenya. And that particular partnership speaks to how do you prepare women to be able to trade in the international market. So we've taken women to Ghana, I think it was last year, and we hosted about 30 women in Ghana, and they interacted with that market. We've been able to take women to Madrid, Spain. We've taken women to different areas. The other women have also come and learned from us. So the truth of the matter is this proposition is not just about the financial piece, also opening you up to the different markets, preparing you. But I urge women more than ever, open your minds and tell us what it is that you want. We're willing to come to you, sit with you in smaller groups, because sometimes having conversations in a large group, diminishes the voices and doesn't allow you to ask the questions. So it's important that we have these smaller groups. So I'm always saying, reach out to us, let us know the chamas that you're in, let's have conversations to ensure that you're prepared for whatever it is that you want to do. So opening to markets, and then also networking. Sometimes networking, you could be seated, and I hope you're seated to somebody you don't know, because that's another opportunity for you to introduce yourself. I found that sometimes just reaching across and saying, guess what, my name is Elizabeth, this is what I do. And the person also tells you, and you have a conversation. Guess what, you can unlock a situation like you've never seen before. Some of the powerful partnerships that I have are based on that. Just opening yourself to networking and telling your story. Women, tell your story. I know sometimes you think, but mine doesn't really matter. Your story matters. That's our hashtag at ABSA Bank. Your story matters. So I think it's an opportunity to engage, and I think we're looking to do more. We're looking for more partners. I know the other day they're speaking to Frida here, looking for other ways of being able to partner, empower women. When you're pulled up, please pull 10 more women around you. Guess what? We're going to get somewhere. Don't shut out the women. Don't diminish them. They have an opportunity to step up. So the proposition is really looking to do more of that.
Amazing. Thank you. I think it's very important to always share your story because it resonates with someone and it inspires them. So that's very good. Thank you. Bide, what are your thoughts on that question?
We have NSC Connect. So NSC started an SME program called Ibuka a few years back. We've been working to reinvigorate it. Last year, we had a pilot phase where we had 50 SMEs come and work with us for the final quarter, that our SMEs are being supported by banks. But we all have this notion that our economy has to grow to be a first world economy, isn't it? It's not for us, it's for the people who are coming behind us. I can assure you that if my grandmother's business never grew, maybe I'd not be here, because her business growth ensured that my mom came to study in Nairobi. She met a handsome man whose son I tend to have now, my father, and the story goes on. And for me, I've gotten here and the views and the perceptions that I have for future generations. So if we don't grow, then we can't be able to develop. But the reality is banking debt and the banking sector can only develop businesses up to a certain point. At some point, you need to allow patient capital to come in. But we have this notion that we can't open, I'm scared, I don't know, they'll take control. I don't know where that thing came from. Maybe we need to take it to churches every Sunday and say, let go, surrender. Anyway, that's on a side note. So when we did this program and we were preparing companies to come in, there were a few businesses there that were led by women, and we were very excited. But now the excitement diminished because when now we sat and we said, okay, what is your business? It was, I sell nuts, for example. And there's nothing wrong with selling peanuts. But where do you get them from? So I sell nuts when somebody asks me for the peanuts. Do you get that? This businesses don't. Is that how ABSA does not operate like that? ABSA has a business plan, it has a strategy, it has structures. So you find that in as much as we wanted to actually put those women businesses at the forefront, we were challenged because they were not scalable business ideas. And that's the challenge that we meet. So you find that when we look at women, businesses that are led by women, only a handful of them can actually then qualify for our markets. Markets are not made for them. It's just sometimes as women, and I also struggle with this personally, we always just uncomfortable, me, my mom and I. And if you sit in a room with a gentleman, and I can see our MC Maina Shege here, he'll tell you a guy thinks, he's told, there's a tender. Me, I supply that. You know, you're looking at a guy like me, I'm not seeing supply anything. But the guy's like, you want 10 cars, you want 10 Prados, latest, I will get you that. He's already done, they're 30 million, I need 300 million, I'm going to price them at 35. Me, I'm thinking, my man cannot even go beyond 500,000 shillings. Actually, it can't, there's a day I wrote a billion on a book. I was like, anyway, I digress. But that mindset of now the women businesses thinking, I've started selling peanuts. What is the value chain of peanuts? How will I go tomorrow and start making peanut butter? If I start selling to my network because the supermarket will not allow, how can I actually have a digital storefront? I create my own digital storefront. How do I put other things there? How do I tell every woman who buys peanut butter from me every single month that I'll give her 1 share? The beauty about that is she will never leave. She'll keep coming back. Tell her, buy 1 share, you'll always get a 5% discount guaranteed for life. Then you come and speak to us and say, if I'm not ready to list, but I want to know, how do these markets work? And I want to then prepare for these markets in 5 years. You see, that's a very different mindset from, I can't list, I'm too small. So that was what we were hoping to achieve through NSC Connect. We did not achieve what we wanted, and now we are regrouping. But even as we're regrouping, we have some products that we launch. I'm just not at the liberty to discuss them now. But one of the things through Empower Her is first address the wealth conversation, but more importantly, then have offshoots of Empower Her that then speak to women-led businesses that are ready to move. So that has been our connection out to the market. And then finally, through partnerships that we want to get into with ABSA and other entities to actually prepare these women. And finally, there is the context of sustainability-linked issuances. They have done very well in Tanzania. The Tier 1 banks have actually issued. And sustainability-linked bonds actually mean that, for example, if ABSA issues it, then ABSA has a requirement to actually go look for women-led businesses to lend. In our case, if it's issued in the market, then you have a responsibility to go and look for women-led businesses that have the absorptive capacity to be able to take in 100 million shillings, 200 million shillings, 500 million shillings. That's what we've done. We have not been able to have any tombstones as yet, but I'm sure in a year or two, if we continue doing this, we'll be able to then showcase and say these are the women-led businesses out of the initiatives that we have begun.
Oh, very exciting. That's really cool. Okay, we're going to go to our last question before I throw this back out to the crowd for Q&A. The last question is, how have recent economic shifts impacted the availability and terms of capital for businesses? What trends should business owners be mindful of?
I think that's a really valid question because we live in a real world. Today we look at the world that we live in. When I look back 4 years ago now, when COVID hit, that was a disruption unto itself. When I look at, the Ukraine crisis, that's another hit. When I look closer to home about the taxes, the increment of taxes, increment of fuel prices, all these things are disruption to businesses. So, previous couple of years, it was smooth sailing. Maybe the price of something, one or two things would increase. But today, we've been bombarded with so many disruptions. And I can't say that I see, the light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's probably the train coming back at us because the truth is there's so many more disruptions, that we anticipate. So the truth is, as a business, we have to be ready for disruptions. We have to factor in those disruptions in what we do every day. We have to think about, this is the best case scenario. This is scenario number 2. This is scenario number 3. We have to be able to say, if this is my best case scenario, this is how I operate. If this is my worst case scenario, this is how I cut back. The truth is, if you don't have those honest conversations, then you plan to fail. A lot of the times we we engage in businesses with the best case scenario. You want to make money. I'm going to sell 10 cars. I'm going to sell 100 cars. I'm going to do, you're thinking about the things that you're going to do and do well, but you seldom think about the disruptions. Today, when you walk into the bank and have a conversation with the various people who are ready to have conversations with you, so we have SME bankers, we have universal bankers, we have the branch managers, all ready to have conversations around how do you mitigate risk? First of all, what are the risks? Because the truth is, and ladies, feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift. Don't take it personally. We're not breaking your business down because we're asking you the relevant questions. So I'd say it's an opportunity for us to, again, learn and relearn, look for the support, share your stories, read a lot, engage in conversations that are edifying. Surround yourself with, I dare say, surround yourself with strong people who can support you in those conversations, people who can give you proper feedback, people who can enable your business to grow. Network, find other women who are doing similar things and doing them at different levels so that you can be able to really, really grow your business. So great opportunities for women and SMEs. I would say never give up. If it's an idea that you're looking to run with, never give up. Yeah.
No, I don't want to say this in front of a banker. We have been praying for anyway. Every time we go and talk about our products at NSC, first guys are like, "Ay, inakwanga huko, that's a miracle." Because I'm about to tell you something. In this uncertainty and high interest rates, we have the fantastic product for any business, whether it's a women-led business or a male-led business. We have what we call corporate bonds. Now, this is how corporate bonds work, and it's different from how your typical banking loan works. When you take a bank loan, you have to pay interest and principal every month, correct? When you take a corporate bond from the capital markets, you only pay principal 2 times in a year. Interest 2 times in a year. The amount that you borrowed, you pay after 5 years, 7 years, depending on the tenor. Now, with all these uncertainties, and you're sure about your business plan, and as you've been told, you've prayed and fasted, isn't it better to take a loan where I only pay interest, and then when I make the money, I pay it back? Isn't it? These are the solutions that we have. We have corporate bonds. The minimum ticket size for a corporate bond issuance in our market is 50 million. But anytime we go and have this conversation with different businesses, it's who's done it, who succeeded, and we explain that, but we actually have solutions that work. Another solution that works for you in this kind of tough environment is equity financing. Selling a portion of your business. You can only sell a portion of a good thing. If your business is rotten to the core, I think you can keep working. I think when I started my role here as a chief business officer, I was like, no, just reconsider. I can assure you by last year, I was like, it's not meant for you. If your business is not good, if you're not making money, if you don't have accounts, you don't have structures, imagine, just continue. There's no need, because you give me a headache and you make me sad. But if you have a legit business, if your earnings have been growing, and there are people who have big businesses that grow, whether you're exporting or importing, but you're not sure about the environment because consumption has been affected by the high taxes and the high interest rate, you come and say, I will sell 10% of my company. What that does is it gives you money to manage your working capital. Every month you have expenses. So it gives you that. And then what it does, it then allows you to only pay a dividend if your money is profitable. If you're not profitable, you're not required to pay a dividend. For the bank, whether you're profitable or not, you have to pay back, isn't it? So the way we have been saying is, don't go and take your banking finance, but come and find alternative financing through the Nairobi Securities Exchange and through the capital market. That's, I think, the most financially trendy thing you can do for your business. And that's something that has been there. That's something that is open. Now, in as much as we are public, please don't look for me if you're not ready. And if you just, there's one time I sat at a conference with one of the previous cabinet secretaries, and I just finished university at KICC, and it was an investment conference. And somebody put their hand up. You know how many people sit at KICC? Someone said, what is a share? Oh my goodness, the CS said you should not have been in this conference, right? So I'm not being rude, but I think it's important to do your work. And if you're ready and you're saying, do I have a profitable business? Yes. Is it in the hundreds of millions? Yes. Do I have proper structures? Yes. Do I have audited financials for the last year, 2 to 3 years? Yes. You don't even need to be profitable to raise capital in our markets. Come and speak to us. If you're not there, but you think you can get there in a year or two, also come and speak to us so that you're saying in this space where there'll be so many disruptions, how can I explore alternative financing from the capital markets to ensure that in 5 years, my business is still running? I think that needs to be a key consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the panel discussion. So I don't know where my MC went to. He just disappeared. Oh, okay, good. Because I'm going to ask you if you want to start off with the questions for the Q&A.
Yes. Let me be generous every time I start with my questions. So who wants to go first? We have, first of all, we have our usual, people, faces that I've never mixed, and they say, I want to come the physical, don't register me for online. There you go. Oh, yeah. Like you must have a question. That's how bad I am. Anyway, let me not put you too much on the spot. Anybody with a question who wants to start first? Going once, going twice. I understand in Empower how you give them time to breathe. This was too deep. There is moving like speed, everything else. So are we ready now? Excellent. I told you. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Securities. I would like to pose a question to Ms. Director regarding the cash flow of the SMEs. So because I understand most challenge with SMEs, especially women-led businesses, is more on the cash flows. How will you be able to assist so that they can keep their cash flows at par to be able to also access financing?
That's a really good question. And cash flows are the basis of a lot of lending. So what does cash flows tell us at the bank? It tells us whether you have the ability to repay. You have an ability to invest. Because the truth is, if you don't keep your cash flows well, then we don't have the opportunity to give you any feedback. So we take you through the process of what does this cash flow look like, first and foremost? How do you make sure that you can track it more efficiently and effectively? Why do I say this? Because most businesses, with cash, as long as it's a cash business, you find yourselves receiving the cash, and before you can even acknowledge it somewhere, somebody has come and asked you for money, you've given it out. So how have you made sure that we can track that money? We encourage you more than ever as a business to make sure we can track your money so that we can see its entry point and its exit point. It's never about always having the money seated in your account. It's about what you receive and what you pay out. What you receive and what you pay out. Hence the reason why we say, can you have your statements? Can we have your M-Pesa statements? Can we have your SACCO statements? Because we just want to know where is your money going. But when you tell me, guess what? I sell, goods worth 100,000 shillings. But at the end of the day, when you show me it's only 50,000, then I'll be asking you, where did your money go? Then you're saying, kuna huyu jamaa aliuza. But that doesn't work for us. The documents that we look at is your statements, your M-Pesa statements, the evidence that shows us that it's, the money is coming through. Hence the reason why the people who don't have those then get a statement. When you have those, receipts for and LPOs and stuff like that, you then have an accountant who comes and sits and puts that document into what we understand in terms of cash flows. So it is really, really important that we are able to track the money. It doesn't matter what kind of financing everybody always asks you, show us the evidence that you actually receive money and you actually pay out money. So keeping proper bookkeeping is so fundamental. And that is one of the things that we teach women. Don't do this situation of, I had money and therefore my neighbor came and asked me for money and I gave it. That we can't keep track of that. You might be a really good neighbor, and I don't dispute that. But the truth is, it's your business and you have to be able to show us. The other thing we ask you is, when you have those cash flows, what are you using your money for? What are you using your money for? There's a clear plan on what you should do with your money. So the question, the point I made earlier on, your money cannot be coming in and then you give it out to neighbors and your friends and your relatives because you just felt a way moment. You have to intentionally say, how is this could be your capital that you're lending out. And that's why a lot of businesses actually collapse within 5 years. That's what statistics say. You start your business, and I always say women start our business with such passion and such focus, and you give it your name, Elizabeth and Daughters. Keisha, you are the one who then goes and, breaks your business by giving money out in an irresponsible manner. You don't even give yourself leave and so many things that go along with it. But to your question, cash flows are so important. You guard your cash flows with all that you have. Make sure that it goes according to plan. When you lend it out, it must come back. It must come back with something else so that it is really a sustainable business. So plug into the conversations that we have, because we always take your business to the next level with more and more detail around how cash flows works. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Is there anybody else who wants to ask a question? I have one. As you're speaking, especially for you, be there. I'm standing here so that the camera can see me nice. I have two ladies in my house. One is my wife and my daughter. And most of the times when I'm talking to my wife, she will complain a little bit about the boss, who is a lady, And then today, and I said I'm going to ask it on this Empower session, I was at a place, let me not name the place, where they're about to replace their CEO. And the lady who is the communications head, a lady, is praying that this person will not be a woman. And I thought, okay, are you guys enemies of yourselves or what is it? Because for me, honestly, now we are about to start a prayer point at my house about that boss of mine. You understand what I mean? Because she's just become nasty. I mean, too. And the thing that a man feels like, I want to go and punch that person 2 times, but I can't. I'm just saying. So I just wanted to understand. We're talking about empowering ourselves. Maybe you're so strong saying, you got your seat, got it. Let them know you are here. Actually, this is not just for you, both of you. What's your piece of advice? Because we're on record.
I would say that's a man's narrative. I'm so tired of that. We women, we love each other. See, we meet for chamas. We have shai. We pray together. We love each other. Maybe there are a few things that we don't understand about managing at that position, and sometimes pressure gets the better of us. But we want to really change that narrative, because the truth is, the more we empower these women to understand, to the point I mentioned earlier, self-awareness, how you show up. How you show up is so important when you managing your team. You should not look at the people who are working. In fact, for me, my biggest thing is, can I employ people who are smarter than me? It makes my work easier. But I must also take care of them so that they can take care of me. They can make me look good. Yeah? And so as we share this narrative over and over with other women, people start to realize, you know what? Women don't actually fight each other. Actually, men, you also fight each other. I've seen women's being exchanged in boardrooms, right? But how come it's women whose stories get shared? Me, I'm a strong believer that, you know what? We have maybe a few who are challenged, but the truth is women are supporting each other more and more today. If I look at how many women are showing up in boards today, we're actually opening doors for each other. And we know it's the right thing to do. It's just not a nice thing to do. It's the right thing to do. So I think for me, I would go back to that lady and give her feedback. Also, feedback, like I said, is a gift. This is something that we struggle with a lot. When you find a woman is perhaps exhibiting some of the behaviors that you've talked about, it's important to give them feedback. And feedback is given not from a poking position, it's from a nurturing position. This is how you showed up. Are you aware that you injured somebody along the way? This is how they felt when you left. Because people don't normally leave their jobs, they leave their bosses. Yeah, because you're just tired of the situation. But when you give them feedback, and this is what I also tell HRs in different organizations, be bold in giving people feedback, because the only way they grow is because they know perhaps there's a better way of doing what they're supposed to do. So are we getting better? Absolutely. Do we have an opportunity to change that narrative? Absolutely. And the women, let's start from the women here. How many of you are willing to support that positive narrative about women? Come on. We are going to make sure that we show up and show up well. So an opportunity for feedback, an opportunity to empower them, an opportunity to let them know how they're really showing up and doing better. I think it would be my way of looking at it.
Waiting for my fiery answer, my fiery rant. First, I think this lady, if she gets the job, she's more than qualified for it. I don't know if my experience is a shared experience, but there's a thing that when I started my career, my mom always used to tell me. She's like, unfortunately, you'll have to know a lot more for you to even ever be considered. And then I went through my master's class and we had a case study on Margaret Thatcher. And when she came in as prime minister, she was like, oh, hello. Guys could not hear. They were just natural biases. So she had to like, our plan for our UK parliament. And that's when, and you know, those are natural biases. And you can't undermine it, because I've noticed sometimes when you're sitting in a boardroom, I'm not all over the place. Like, I have a point, but then this guy's like, what is your point? You know, so there's a space of understanding the different biases that come by being a man and being a woman. God created that in the different ways. But by the mere fact that this lady is actually going to be in that space, I can assure you, she probably has an extremely, you know, her track record of technical competences and her track record of delivering is really exemplary, because she's actually had not to physically fight her way, but for her to be there. So I think there is this space of celebrating that she was able to get to that role, as opposed to our first perception being, oh my gosh, it's another woman. So you've already generalized it. And that's maybe the thing that we could do better in terms of, instead of saying it's a woman and she will not be good, is to say, I wonder, how did you get this role? You know, what did you do? Like, how is it that you are the best candidate from everybody? And I'm not approaching you as a woman, I'm approaching you as a human being. How did you get here? We've listened to Elizabeth's story. How did you get there? Elizabeth has said, as an intern, when people are going for happy hour, which is what most interns do, she was there understanding how does the meal get delivered, what happens in the treasury room, and etc. So for me, when she actually gets promoted and I was seated with her upstairs, I was like, how do you do this? How do you deal with this? I was not trying to be like, where is she there? So I think there has to be that perspective of appreciating that if that lady got there, there's something that she must have for people to be able to entrust her. And as opposed to having this projection of it's another woman and it's going to be stressful, it's how can I learn from this woman? Because there has to be a way that she was able to use her innate nature of being a woman to be able to succeed in a space that more or less tends to be dominated by men. And I'd actually even be more curious to understand, how is it that you don't operate like a man? Then secondly, the thing I would like to also add my input into is to say, as women, we communicate with each other differently. But sometimes the corporate world has a lot of pressure where we might not necessarily have a full day to go through feelings. I do lead teams made up of women and made up of ladies. And I noticed something very interesting about guys. I think it's just the way the Lord created them. First, they forget yesterday so quickly. It helps if you're dating. Because you're like, thank God there's grace. People forget what you did not do. But then sometimes it doesn't help when you need continuity. But conversely, like now for the ladies in the team, and myself included, you'll be so stuck on that didn't work and this is how I felt. And the business has moved. Because the business is about process, it's about outcomes, it's about deliveries. So sometimes you find that as you're leading men and women, the men will be very quick to catch on and move to the next thing. But then the women may take a bit of time. So it needs a lot of patience. But sometimes you can be in spaces, especially as you go higher up, where there's no that grace to be patient. So rather than saying women do this and men do this, I think it's a matter of understanding what is fit for purpose for the business that I'm in. What do I need to do to separate myself from and ensure that I'm the right person to get through to the other side? So I think women are fantastic. We have a nurturing nature. Just how Elizabeth spoke, I was just like, yeah, yes, that's, you know, I just feel so encouraged. So I think we support one another. And as women, when you find another woman who's winning, it's not just giving her a high five. It's just asking, how did you get here? I'd like to do, can we get to do something together? Because that's something that men do very well. Men fantastic at bromance. So sometimes I even cut. I'm like, gosh, I've just been edged out of this conversation. Because guys are like, hey, as you're going through the parking lot. So as women, it's just to say, what are you doing? Is there anything I can do for you today? And the more we have such conversations and we normalize the conversation of, I am a woman and I have feelings. Sometimes it takes me a bit longer, but because there are more of us in the space, we're going to figure it out, but we don't lose sight of the fact that we are pushing a bottom line. We might push it differently, but we will succeed at the end of it. So I really think that woman has done well. I don't think it should be a prayer item of agony. It should be a praise report. Since you guys are praying, it's a testimony that she got the job, and you're giving thanks for her, and you're praying for wisdom for her as the next upcoming leader. I'm sure that helps. Oh yeah, period.
Thank you. I'm Ivonia Arena. I work with UN Global Compact. And Mbithe, you mentioned something on sustainability linked issuances. with the financial institutions? Is this public information? Because we have women-led and also men-led SMEs under the UN Global Compact, and striving to make it to be a sustainable organization to operate responsibly. But this is information that I think would do them good. And also, you're the people with the finances, and it's good to point it out. Do you think that there needs to be more empowerment for businesses, for SMEs to actually operate responsibly, because there is support that's out there for them? Yeah.
Look, even as SMEs, no matter what business you have to you run, you have to run it responsibly. I always say, this business of running away every time you hear KRAs on your streets is not going to work either. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. I mean, you have to establish your business according to the rules and regulations of the land. When you don't do that, then you're constantly running. You're constantly under pressure to pay out monies here and there. I'm not saying that our environment has also not enabled that. There is a way that the environment has enabled it. And slowly but surely, we have an opportunity to change that narrative. When you stand up to your business, to anybody who comes to your business and says, I want you to pay ABCD. No, you said, no, I'm not in that business of paying, because all these are my papers. And there's a way you can be able to defend yourself. So what do we do as a bank? And I think there's an opportunity for us to make sure that there's compliance and governance and all these nice things that stabilize our business. We can do to the partners that we have. Like I said earlier on, we have a lot of partners whom we train and support SMEs and women-led specifically. So we have Chamber of Commerce, we have ITC Sheet Trades, we have OWIT, we have, AGF. We have a lot of organizations that are willing to support. But it doesn't stop us from having those engagements, even with an organization yourself, telling us what you see from your angle. Because there's always an angle that you might be blind to. I know today we have an opportunity to have a conversation around the gender bond as well. And what is the journey towards the gender bond? How do we make sure that women understand what it is? How do we make sure that we can be able to find funding? How can we find the women that are ready for that? And how can we prepare the women so that they're ready for it? So there's a lot of things that we can do together to ensure that, to your question, how do you make sure that the organizations are ready for financing? We are ready to finance. It's just that they have to also be ready. And the engagement speaks to work on both sides. So we're reaching out and saying we're listening, but women also have to reach out and say we're learning. Yeah.
I'll pick up on the gender issued bond. So when we talk about sustainability linked issuances, in your case, it would be, are there businesses maybe that are led by women, or are there businesses that on a day-to-day interact a lot with women, either through the jobs that they create or through the suppliers and the people who come into that business? And if those businesses are there, they do need to be profitable, because in as much as it is a sustainability linked bond, there's the keyword bond. It has to be repaid. That means the business has to be sustainable. So is this business making a profit? Is this business growing? Are the consumers increasing? Those are the things that we would look at in the market. So we are also happy to come and work with you. But I think what would be more beneficial to your members, just going beyond awareness. I think Kenya, we really just love being aware. And I don't think it's Kenya, it's an African thing. Like, we just like, do you know? We are so caught up on do you know? And when you go to other countries, it's not do you know, it's I did. And then you figure out what you did not know as you go along. So what would probably be more beneficial to your ecosystem is saying there are these businesses that are growing, that have an impact and efficacy with women, either by creating jobs or their consumption is by women. They are expanding at a very fast pace. What sustainability linked products can we either issue through the NSE or in collaboration with the NSE and a bank such as AXA or any other institution as you'd like. But we're happy to take this offline and have a discussion on that.
Thank you very much. I think it was in line with what she was asking. My name is Nyokabi. I'm currently working with Vocation Empowerment Program. So I know we're really talking about the SMEs, and I'm really so passionate about the people who are down here. And I've been in this space where I was working in a bank, Equity Bank, and we were working with women who actually were just not aware of like how to grow their businesses. And immediately you tell them, just do this one thing, and you actually see them flourish. So how do we actually now talk about the micro people? And there are so many of them, and they're actually struggling down here. It's just a matter of, just capacity building. And so how do we plug into that, and how do we ensure that the micro are actually aware? Because some of them actually, like that one particular business actually flourished within a very short time because of lack of awareness. So what is apps are doing, and what are the platforms that we can be able to plug into that? Yeah, thank you.
I think some of the things that we're doing are taking a step back and asking ourselves, even by the time you talk about the micro, where are they coming from? They're actually coming from colleges, schools, and engaging them from that level. So we have a ready to work program that we've instituted with a lot of the universities across the country, just to make sure that people understand what it takes to start up a business and run a business, even from that level. Leave alone by the time you leave and now you start your own business. How do you register your business? How do you make sure that it runs? To the things that you're talking about, empowering them to start off on the right pillars. Those programs are available. And I say, feel free to engage with us from whatever angle, from social media, from the branches, from the people who we know from ABSA. Engage with us. We have a lot of programs around that. The idea is when you create a base that is ready, then you're able to then start having a sustainable financing opportunity for us moving forward. So before, maybe 20 years ago, we'd never have thought that we'd be in that space of saying, what is a micro need? What does a person in school need? What are the youth talking about? What are these Gen Zs talking about? How do you prepare them? Because they're talking about unemployment. The truth is we have an opportunity to actually have them self-employed. But self-employment means that the discipline and the knowledge and the structures have to be in place for you to start businesses. And we have fantastic ideas to do that. The other thing that we're also doing differently is that we're also influencing the organizations that we work with, that we partner with, that we bank, to enable women, youth join the organizations to be able to do some of the work, create an ecosystem where we can be able to say, this is the product you want to deliver. We can be able to issue an LPO. We've given you an array of places that you can go and get this. And so the businesses, those micros start engaging with legit businesses who guide them through the process, and they learn how to manage. So we have partnered with, for instance, Safaricom. We've exchanged lists of suppliers. We have trained them. We've taken them to Strathmore, made sure that they understand how to run their businesses. We continue in that journey of ensuring that we can influence other organizations to create ecosystems that allow more women in, more SMEs in, more youth in, because if you don't allow them in, then you don't have a program, you don't have a sustainable background. We're also working with government with the different counties around the same. I know there's been a liquidity challenge, but the truth is the few programs that we work to ensure that, they give you the youth some work, the people with disabilities work, because all these people are capable of working. Then we empower them to be able to start their own businesses, run their businesses, even independent of working with government, and perhaps even have an opportunity to go across the world. It really depends. But to your point, making sure that we can create that buffer and make sure that they are enabled from the stage at when they're in school all the way up to the starting their business and moving forward. We're engaging with them as best as we can. Yeah.
Good. The floor looks satisfied on this end.
Do we have any online questions from our viewers?
We just had too many thumbs up. I don't know. Hi guys, what's up? What's happening? What's happening? I think they are not in.
It's a Friday.
It's a Friday. At least say something. Maybe that's better to tell them. Say something where you are, all that kind of things.
Yeah.
There are quite a number of them, especially on Twitter. All those hundreds, please say something at least. Wow, but that was fantastic.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Yeah. Can I say something that stood out for me? People don't run now away from their jobs. They run away from bad bosses. I tweeted that.
But you tweeted.
No, I've not lost anybody, yes. So it made me think as well to think, how am I? And where have I ran away? And that's true, by the way. In fact, there was I don't know why LinkedIn decided to send me that. The way they advertise things, and then there was this LinkedIn learning on how to deal with difficult people.
AI. Did you hear me saying about AI, artificial intelligence? Yeah, they're listening.
So
they're listening.
I need to be careful. Demi.
Yeah, okay. That brings us to the end of our Empower Her session. I'd like to thank everybody in the room. I'd like to thank you, Elizabeth, for taking your time from being on the platform, and be there as well for joining us for the final session. Yes. Before we end, I'd like our guests to give us the parting shot.
Pat.
Sorry, sometimes I moderate. So imagine the next question. But first is to appreciate you, Demi, and the Nairobi Securities Exchange for facilitating this. And to also say thank you so much, Elizabeth, for making the time to be with us. For the audiences and the audiences that are joining us online. It's always very exciting to sit with the women to learn. I can assure you today I've been fired up by Elizabeth. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. I'm really, really grateful for that. But I think my parting shot is this. If you are a business that is bankable, then you are investable. You should be at the NSC. If you are a business that is bankable, you are investable. Help me. If you are a business that is bankable, you are investable. Please come to the NSC. Oh, sorry. After I have talked for a minute. What I was saying is, if you are a business in Kenya today, you are an SME, you are a large business. If you are bankable, you are investable. Come and work with us. We'd like to explore. We'd like to hear what you're thinking about and come up with alternative financing solutions for you. Secondly, when it comes to being financially trendy, there's a gentleman I met once and he was running a business. He's in his 70s now. He has since stopped. He became an activist investor. I'm sure you know who he is. And I asked him, why did you become an activist investor? He said, the headache of running my entrepreneurship up country, where there are people who come in and they don't come in, versus Safaricom makes money every day. They have figured it out. I don't have their resources. APSA makes money. You can see what Elizabeth is doing here. There are thousands of others who are doing the same thing in other places. MSC. So he said, all these people, they don't have capital, I don't have employees. They have figured out how to make money, and then they pay me a dividend, and sometimes I buy low and I sell high. He's like, my business is to invest in other people's businesses. So if you do not have an account, open a CDSC account today. Download Dosika, DOSIKAA. Download an account, because these businesses, as you're figuring out yours, are spaces where you can actually put money and earn a dividend, and also put money and make money. So if you are investable, if you're bankable, you are investable. So that's for the businesses, but if you have a bank account, you can also invest with us. So karibuni sana, thank you, and God bless you all.
I like the fact that she started with bankable. So I really invite you all to engage with us at Absa Bank, because I think we're passionate about ensuring that we can walk the journey with you. We have a lot of engagements, online, physical engagements, so that each and every person is comfortable knowing that they have the strong foundation to run a business that just not is in your time, but beyond your time. I always say businesses like Heineken, those are people's names, right? Big businesses, Johnson & Johnson. Johnson was somebody who started a business and he called it after himself. Guess what? It's still there today. So I'd really wish that SMEs could also see the journey that they're starting their businesses with and walk the journey to go forward. I think as a bank, we're very engaged in making sure that we support you as best as we can, but we also open ourselves up to feedback, that as you engage with us and something doesn't go right, please feel free to give us feedback. I think feedback for me is a gift. The parting shot is really around the SMEs and the women. Be brave, passionate, and ready. Brave, passionate, and ready. When I say brave and passion, those ones you have. Ready is what you need to engage different partners to ensure that you have all the information and all the, the know-how to be able to transcend your businesses forward. I really want to wish each and every one of you the best. Open yourselves to learning. Learn and learn, relearn. Learn and learn, relearn. And hopefully we'll see you in due course at the banks. And here, ringing the bell, because we need you to start your business at this point. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much, and thank you to our online viewers and those in the room. We'll see you next month at the next Empower Her session. Goodbye.